Nonetheless, when you're working with the client, as you bring in unseen therapist on your own, not even asking the client to engage in that, unseen therapist is present. You'll often find unseen therapists will, as the client is talking to you, and as the client is telling you about their issues and you're asking about specific events, and they're telling you things, well, for me at least, they'll be talking to me and all of a sudden something they say will just stand out like that. Just it's almost like they yelled it at me, which they didn't do, but it's like that. And that's the unseen therapist, because I've got experience doing this, okay? Having that client tell me that is an issue we've got to get to. Okay, that it helps me start asking my questions and getting down to what counts and doesn't count and so on. You don't have to have that skill right away. You can still do a lot without it, but that's one of the things that starts happening as you practice and get better and better with the unseen or inner therapist.
Yes, I have this example I told you yesterday that the girl has to make a surgery in her teeth, the wisdom teeth, and was very inflamed since years.
Yes.
And she couldn't have any anesthesia.
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 Yeah. Right.
She couldn't have any anesthesia in her. The idea of the anesthesia make her panic.
Yes.
And because he had some past events about injections and some process with some magicians. It's a very complicated family.
Well, yeah, so I understand. She had some past specific events
yes.
which were very traumatic for her.
Traumatic.
And so she was worried that's going to happen again.
Yes.
It's all going to replay, and so therefore she has her current fears.
Yeah,
right?
We did some tapping for a while in the beginning. Then I started doing unseen therapies with her. But she said to me, the mere idea of the anesthesia, because I have the fear of becoming dizzy, like had happened when she had an injection that had allergy to this injection.
Sure.
So now she said to me, but I have this idea that if you come to me to the consultation with the dentist, I will be able to overcome this block.
Yes, all right.
I remember, and so we went together there, and I said to the dentist, please, I ask you for 2 minutes. I'm going to do a more spiritual procedure here, and then you start. And she was holding my hand strongly, even when she sit down in the dentist chair. And then I called the unseen therapist, and she closed her eyes, and I asked for help with this panic of being dizzy.
Yes.
That because even if we had work on past events, she still have this fear of becoming in panic.
So you had worked on the past events even with tapping.
Yes.
And she still had fear left.
Fear
all right.
left.
That's important. Go ahead.
And then when I did with the unseen therapist, she woke up and she opened her eyes and said, I only asked to give the anesthesia piece by piece, not all in the same, because I want to check if I don't become dizzy and lose my mind. That was mostly her fear. And we did this, and the surgery was overcome. I was done. In half an hour, she was ready.
And no panic, no dizziness?
No panic, but no panic at all. She was smiling.
I'll tell you something. Thank you, Sonia. That's a really good example. First of all, the point to make there is tapping helped her to a degree.
Yeah.
And sometimes tapping will just do the job. Okay. But many times tapping only goes a certain part of the way. And when you bring in unseen therapists, the rest of it gets done. And I would suggest this, although we can't prove it right now, that if instead of going to the dentist with her, you were just back in your office at that
Could
time,
be.
and you were doing it on your own without holding her hand and all of that, it would still work.
Yes.
Because remember, we're all one. There is no space and there is no time. There appears to be space and time, but it's not really there. Okay. But we don't have to tell the client that. We can just know that the space does not matter. We're going to find out later on that I have sat in my chair and dealt with people 3,000 miles away and got results. Okay. So space
Yeah.
space does not really matter.
The interesting is that I did tapping for past events. Many times we did all the aspects of this injection and all other traumas, but when I went to the office, I did. She said, I don't feel any panic when I remember of the injection. I'm just with fear of this anesthesia, so I work global, and it worked.
Yeah. And with trying to work with global, general issues, with tapping, doesn't always work. That's why we teach all about specific events, because global stuff, no, not so much. But with the unseen therapist, we can often take a global issue, a general issue, and while it's not always the case, oftentimes we can kick the center right out of that with a little time with unseen therapists just on the general thing. So that's another one of the advantages.